On this episode of Hot Rod Garage, these two take the Crown Hick a little too far. Get out of the vehicle.
Welcome back to Hot Rod Garage, presented by Lincoln Tech. In this episode, we're going to take our F100 Crown Victoria frame body swap project, and we're going to turn it into a running and driving truck.
Last episode, we took apart that Crown Vic cop car in order to swap a Ford F100 body onto its chassis.
We announced this project online. People are stoked. This is a pretty common swap that people are doing, and I can't wait to get this thing on the road because I couldn't believe how well that cop car drove.
You have a list?
I have a list. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So at the end of the last episode, you saw me make the two main cab mounts for the truck. They're all done. Then we started goofing around with that chariot project, which was clearly a good use of our time.
Absolutely.
It was super fun. We drove that thing around a bit, but now we have to make the other 4 body mounts for the cab. There's 2 for the front end and 2 for the very back of the cab. Once those are all done and fabricated and in, then we can bolt the body down for good and turn this thing into a real truck.
You take the chariot to lunch today?
Yeah, that sounds good. Watch out. Here we go. So to make the front end mounts for the cab of the truck fit on this Crown Victoria frame, we trimmed up the Crown Victoria frame. It was a bit long, but luckily these stock mounts from the cab are right inside these frame rails. So we're just going to plate this off, build a pedestal, cut a little piece of body lift mount to go between the two, bolt it in, and we should be done. So we've got the 2 main cab mounts bolted into the frame that we made last episode, and then we went through and leveled everything so that the frame and the cab are exactly in line. I checked the angles, they look great. Now we can make the front pedestals that will hold the front mounts for this front end. We are going to cut up some Delrin that we have off of regular universal body lift to make those for now. Maybe later we'll come back and rubber mount everything, but just to get it done, we're going to chop it up, put some Delrin in there.
That's all we got to do?
Yep.
All right.
You got to cut it. You got to cut that in half.
Cut that.
So the last cab mounts we have to make are the 2 in the rear of the truck, and they're right in line and pretty close together, so I decided to use a 2 by 3 inch rectangular tube to hold the car up. But one thing I can do is I cannot bolt through this tube properly, because anytime you're going to bolt through a tube like this, it will eventually weaken, it'll deform in the center here because there's not a lot of strength. So what I'm going to do instead is I hog the holes out a bit, I'm going to put a couple of sleeves in there and then weld them in. They're going to go through about 1/8 of an inch on each side. I'll put a nice flat bead of weld on there and then grind them down so they're about flat. It'll be super strong. I'll be able to bolt through it. So we've got the main part of my rear cab mount bolted into the cab. One thing we have to do now is make 2 legs that will allow us to weld this into the frame. It'll be nice because this thing will span the whole frame and strengthen it up a bit. And if it looks like we're close to the drive shaft, we did a test. We put a bunch of weight in the back of this thing, bounced it around, and it should be just fine. Drive shaft doesn't move that much all the way back here. Now that we've got all 6 cab mounts for the F100 finished, we took the Crown Victoria frame over to a local do-it-yourself car wash to hose off a surprising amount of grime for a 10-year-old car. We reached out to our buddy Chris at adtr.net because we can't just leave it well enough alone. Stock is just not what we're having. We want to do some upgrades to this thing, and we're going to do them before we put the body on because we have great access to everything. The first thing they sent over is a Stainless Works header to tailpipe full exhaust system. First thing we're going to do is grab this old exhaust, yank it right out of here. It'll be that easy.
We get to work now?
We get to work now.
Okay.
So we're taking this opportunity with the body off to install this sweet, fully stainless, TIG welded set of headers from Stainless Works because they obviously will flow way better than these cast iron manifolds from Ford. And since the body is off, we've got great access in there to replace this stuff because there's not a lot of room with the body on. I think Lucky's just about done pulling the exhaust manifold studs out, and we can install the Stainless Works full exhaust. Fitting in the Stainless Works header back 4-in-1 mandrel bent slip fit exhaust went very smoothly. This stuff looks. Wait to hear it get fired up. But before we do that, we're going to move into some rear suspension upgrades. We've got 4-link arms, Watts link arms, and some sway bars from ADTR. So one of our first rear suspension upgrades, we're going to install these Heinous brand rear arms. They're rear 4-link arms from ADTR.net.
Are you pronouncing that correctly?
I think I am.
All right.
Heinous.
Means good.
They're really nice. Built aluminum, polyurethane, greasable, probably very rigid. This is the flimsy cop stuff.
Better than cop stuff.
Better than cop stuff.
Buy Heinous. Better than cop stuff.
I put the Zerk fittings down so they'll be easy to access later for maintenance. Never stand up to the kind of action they're going to see. So we've got these Heinous 4-link arms in, and we're going to install a set of Watts links from Metco. Also billet aluminum, super nice.
This is the factory cop sway bar. This is a new ADTR sway bar. They look almost exactly the same, don't they?
With the rear sway bar in, we're done with the rear suspension. We're going to put in this big fat ADTR front sway bar. That's all we're doing to the front suspension. Put this thing on the ground, and then we can start building the car.
Fries are done.
I remember Lucky's last day at work.
Remember that day?
It's like a regular day. We're just tossing the rear wheels back on. We'll tighten them up. We'll put this thing under its own weight on the ground so we can tighten up all of the bushings and the rear suspension that we have removed.
Hey, let's chat about what we're going to do next.
Lucky.
Oh, hold on. Go.
Man, I can't wait to get the body on the frame.
Yeah.
Old versus new, truck versus car.
A blend.
Cops versus robbers.
Cops versus robbers.
It's gonna be sweet. One more thing I wanted to toss on before we drop the body onto the frame is a mechanical throttle body. This thing came with drive-by-wire, and the Holley HP EFI setup is for an earlier 96 to 04 Mustang 4.6-liter engine, and that throttle body actually bolts right on. I picked up a cheap one from Summit. When I put this on, it'll allow our Holley EFI to work with this later engine. For the interior of the truck, we really wanted to keep the original steering column and shifter in there for a nice vintage look, so we had to come up with a way to adapt this shifter to that modern transmission from the Crown Victoria. I went online and did a little digging, and the S1832 part number from Locar is designed to make old school shifters work with a cable shift mechanism, but they list it for 2¼ inch universal steering columns and GM stuff, so we're doing a little bit of work. On my end, it bolted right on, but Lucky's gonna have to do a little bit of work on the transmission, fabricating a mount and a bracket to hold the cable in the right spot.
So this is the original 1966 steering shaft out of the steering column of the truck. This coupler is the original component off of the police car, which used to go directly to the bar that interfaces with the rack. Obviously, the two won't just bolt together. I put it on there. I split it in half. I put a nice little bead that you can't see because I ground it down right there, so it's secure, but it still has a little room for expansion. Then I clearanced this, forced it on, drilled a bolt hole for safety, and it's really just for safety. It's not actually holding the thing together. And now Tony's going to weld it up.
So I installed that new throttle body. Lucky made a shifter bracket for the transmission itself. Now we can roll this thing under and finally make that sandwich for the last time of body and frame.
Sandwiches for everyone. There. I think we're right where we need to be.
Beautiful work, everybody. You watch the front.
Bend those hoses up a little.
Fit like a glove. Boom.
Well, now that we have the body bolted down for good, we can get onto our control systems, the steering, the shifter, the gas, and the brakes.
You want to pull the whole thing back towards me, right?
Just a little bit, yeah, plenty.
Is that too far?
I think it's good. Yeah, right there. So I mocked up this bracket and cable stay before when I had this column out of the car. Now I'm just reinstalling it now that we've pushed it through the firewall. Once we got the F100 body mounted to the Crown Victoria frame, we had to make all the controls work. So that meant doing a little bit of modifications to that shifter setup that we got, a regular universal low-car throttle cable. Lucky made a bracket for it, very straightforward. We just welded the one steering shaft to the other, and then the brakes were a little bit more complicated. We got a kit from Summit for this truck. It's number 76214, and we wound up doing a little bit of modifications to get the Crown Victoria master cylinder bolted right onto that.
Which we are going to change later.
Yeah, we'll change that later, eventually.
So what's left, buddy?
Let's make it run.
That would be
Fuel and wiring. And then you have a solution for making this modern fuel-injected engine run in this old chassis.
That's about a third of what it takes to make the stock harness work.
Yeah,
I have a modern solution that you came up with.
that's true.
Same thing in my car. And that is Holly.
Holly. We call our buddies at Holly, and they make things better.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
So I'm here with all the cool stuff we got from Holly. It's the HP EFI fuel injection system. The reason we went with this is because the wiring harness that's in the police car, we could cut that all up and thin it out, and we would spend who knows how much time doing it. And when it was all said and done, we wouldn't be able to tune it, and it wouldn't do half the things we want to do. The upside to using this is it does absolutely everything. You can plug anything into it, including their 7-inch touchscreen monitor, which is really cool. I have one of these in my car. For transmission control, we're using the MSD TCM. It's pretty cool. We can actually put switches on that and manually upshift and downshift the transmission. The Holly HP EFI wiring harness, I've done a few of these for LS conversions, and even though it looks complicated and like there's a lot of wiring here, there really isn't. It comes with sub harnesses to operate the coils, sub harnesses. ECM, fully programmable, drivers for the injectors, relays are all built in, map sensor, O2 sensor, it's all part of the kit. I'm excited to put it all in the car. Are you?
While Lucky buttons up the wiring on that Holly EFI system for the truck, I'm grabbing the fuel tank and fuel pump out of the Crown Victoria so that we can have a quick and easy fuel solution. I ordered a fuel cell to install in there, but it did not arrive in time, and we want to hear that thing run now. I'm going to pull this out. Hopefully we find a regulator in there. Here. I think that's a simple regulator and return. That is surprisingly sturdy.
I punched a hole in the firewall. I pulled the engine management harness out, and then I put the transmission harness that we installed while the body was off in. I want to make a grommet and a block-off plate for that, and then it will be all about just routing the harness. And when the harness is all installed and looking like it belongs there, then we'll talk about putting power to the thing. It'll be fun. This is my fun face. So what's going on here is the wiring harness that we got from Holley comes with the high-end Bosch-style fuel injectors. We are not using high-end Bosch-style fuel injectors. We're using the factory fuel injectors. So what I did was I cut the ends off of the original harness. I'm gonna clean them up, strip them back, solder and heat shrink them onto the harness so that this part is vintage and this part is badass. Can I put it in now? Yeah. All right. Done.
I think we have a name for this project. We're gonna call it the Crown Hick, which I love. We are ready to fire this thing up, but I've got to jump into the Holley ECU and punch in some parameters like what kind of sensors we're using, what kind of ignition we're using, the size of the injectors, and then as long as we're getting the right signal and everything, it should fire right up.
Okay, gonna crank it.
Sounds good. Yeah, it does. Nice. Woo! Pretty good?
Yeah, man. That exhaust sounds really good.
It does. High five.
High five. You always try to hurt me, dude. What's up with that?
I'm sorry, dude.
Cut it off. We're running out of oxygen fast, buddy.
All right, I think that's all we can do in here. It started right up, which is awesome. I cannot wait to drive this thing. It's time now to get this thing out onto the street, let this ECU start to tune itself, and maybe we can get some fresh air.
Let's do it.
Let's go. So now we're out on the street. Hick, you can see we've done a couple things to turn this thing into a real truck.
A couple things.
A couple little guys. It has a bed on it now that's been shortened, 14 little inches, got chopped out so that the wheelbase lines up. Between the wheel wells is where there's a giant crossmember in the frame for the factory suspension. So we made a big panel to make sure we have enough space for that bed to go down. It's got a gas tank. It's got some mirrors that a local police officer urged us to put on this morning. Gauges are mounted. It's got a proper intake on the engine now. Fans are in there and wired up. And we are in and we're gonna give this thing a workout. Okay, so we're sitting in the Crown Hick. I'm about to drive this thing for the first time. Lucky drove it up to the canyons, so this will be my very first impressions getting behind the wheel of this thing. And our director told us to take it easy on the first run. So
that sounds like a dare.
We'll be doing that for sure. All right, let's do it. There she is. Oh yeah, a little more solid. Oh boy, there she goes. What? Sounds good. Yeah, she got some brakes. Yeah. It's a very soft pedal. That is disconcerting. Oh boy. Yeah.
Let's not do too much of that.
Top car is like soaking up the bumps. Jeez. I think as far as shop trucks go, this thing is pretty rad, dude.
Yeah.
Is this you?
That's me. That last part. Okay, that was my first drive in the Crown Hick, and first impression, this thing is awesome. It's got total modern performance, fuel injection, it runs super smooth, it sounds amazing, it handles very well, and it looks like a 66 F100. So this thing is a great run around town shop truck. That was my first kind of ease into it, shakedown drive. Now I'm gonna take it out and see what it can really do. truck should not drive like this. All right, that's it for this episode of Hot Rod Garage, presented by Lincoln Tech. The Crown Hick project turned out awesome. I'm
It
just
rocks.
blown away. Man, this thing didn't cost $1 million, but it drives phenomenally. If you're gonna do this project, I highly recommend it. We haven't done a lot of Ford stuff on this show, but man, this thing snapped right together.
I like the F100 now.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Don't forget, all our help came from Holly. The guys at Cruiser Connections came up with a good car. ADTR gave us all those hop-up parts and the stainless steel.
Stainless works?
Stainless works.
Yeah.
Exhaust and headers that make this thing sound so good. Thanks to the CHP for putting up with all our shenanigans on Mulholland Drive today. Who else? Riverside Police for donating that car that we eventually got our hands on. You know, all around, thanks for your help. Don't forget to check us out on social media between episodes. I'm Tangelo96 on Instagram. He is
Mobile Tech Lucky.
Mobile Tech Lucky. And the show is Hot Rod Garage Show on Facebook and Instagram. So do it. We're worth it. We're worth it, right?
Absolutely.
I think we're worth it.
Instant message me. I'll give you Tony's number. He'll loan you $5.
Yeah, I'll give you $5.